Welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday, brought to you by Idaho Public Television and Montana PBS.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. I'm Carrie, and I, as always, have Nikki here with me. We are excited again for week 2. This month, we're talking about collaboration tools, and Nikki and I are excited to share this week about Google tools. We are Google, like I love Google. I'm all about Google. I think Nikki probably would share that sentiment. I think one of see, there you go. We're all about the Google tools. And we're going to just highlight 3 today, but I would encourage you, if you have not, to go in and look at kind of all of them. Google tools, I think one of the reasons that Nikki and I both love them is that they're free. And so, you don't have to worry about paying for anything, although there are paid versions your school can use and things like that as well. So we're going to talk today about some ways that you can use Google tools to collaborate with your students. And we're going to start with the simplest of them all, which I think is Google Docs. And interestingly enough, I don't know if we always think about ways that we can have kids collaborate using a Google document, but that's probably one of the easiest ways to have kids collaborate. I'm going to share my screen and just show you a really quick document that I did this summer for professional development with teachers. And this is as simple as I created a Google document. I inserted the names of the students, and that was it. That's all I did. And then I left in a spot for them to go in and type their reflection. So this was a book study that we did this summer. They read these this particular pages and then reflected and shared some ideas. And that was it. And this took me like maybe 2 minutes to create because it was just table, names, and that was it. And then they were able to come in and throughout the week, whenever they read that chapter, they were able to come in and do their reflection. And then you'll notice over here that some people commented on them as well. So in addition to the students being able to come in and make their own reflection, they were able to read each other's and make comments on those. And so this ended up being a lot more of an interactive resource than teachers thought. In fact, I had a couple of teachers be like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought to do that with a Google Doc. And really, this was just such an easy, quick thing, did not take much time for me. And didn't take a lot of time for them either, but it allowed them to kind of go in at their pace and work through this and then see what each other thought. Sometimes, and I love the thought of this for class as well, because sometimes you have those kids who aren't super comfortable speaking up, but they would probably be okay typing something in a document like this and sharing their ideas about things in a format like this. And so this was just a really simple way to do that. And so it's pretty cut and dried and simple as that. That's not the only way that you can collaborate with Google Docs, obviously, but I wanted to make sure that you knew that it doesn't have to be this. I think sometimes teachers think in order to collaborate, I have to create this elaborate project to get my students collaborating, and what you can, and that's wonderful, but that's not a requirement. It can be just as simple as creating a Google Doc. I think Nikki shared with me an example where she had done something similar and then had the teachers use this really cool tool, which I don't know if you know exists under the tools. It's called Explore. And I love this feature, especially for kiddos, because you don't have to go out to a separate page. So you hit the Explore. If I wanted to insert a picture of something about puppies, because who doesn't love puppies? Here, I can just click puppies and you'll see that this looks very similar to a Google search, but I did not have to leave this document. The kids didn't have to open up another tab. You didn't have to risk them finding, the weird content that you don't know of, right? And so here's website searches, here's images. Oh my gosh, look at those puppies. And it also, you can search your drive for anything that has to do with puppies or uses the word puppies. And then kids can just quickly drag and drop and insert it into their document here. And there you go. And so this is a really great way to do some shared collaboration, letting them find, I think Nikki said she used hers at a teacher thing and they had to insert their ideal vacation, right? And so just a way to start sparking conversation. And so I feel like Google Docs, it is simple, but there are ways that you can make it interactive and collaborative for students, in addition to allowing them to work together on a project, but that are just really simple ways that sort of take it up a notch a little bit or change, allow students to the ability to collaborate together and see each other's work as well. And this is I have 5 minutes before the lesson. I didn't have time to create a huge slide deck. Here we go. I'm going to plug in your names and just share with me what you thought. So that's a quick way that you can collaborate with Google Docs. There's a bunch of other ways, but I wanted to just share that. And then I'm going to stop sharing and Nikki's going to talk about slides and Jamboard.
Yeah, so that was great, Carrie. I think you're absolutely right. We think of word processing for Google Docs and just using maybe the comment tool to give each other feedback on a body of text. But there really is quite a bit more that we can do within Docs. And the more you use it for collaboration, the more comfortable kids are going to use it for word processing, which is a life skill. I want to talk about slides as a collaboration tool. I always tell people I think slides is the Swiss Army knife of Google tools because we can do so much more than just create a presentation and show people content. So this is an example of some slides I did with some teachers recently. We did a training about Google Slides. And so I created this sort of interactive, let's do these slides together. And the first one was the icebreaker, which is why there's a block of ice there. And they were supposed to hashtag themselves. So they were supposed to grab text and drag it over onto the screen and then hashtag something that describes them. And so you can see that we got pretty funny with some of them. We have goat milker and hashtag tired. We had hashtag not into cleaning my house and hashtag eater of cheese. So this was it had them all giggling, had them having a great time. And it was truly a perfect icebreaker. And it all just lived on this slide. The next one, I created a graph, and I did this just by inserting this line, inserting some text below, and then copy and pasting a series of emojis. And I asked people to just select an emoji and drag it over into the graph to show how many years of teaching experience they have. You can see doing this with kids. One kindergarten teacher suggested that she'd love to, instead of emojis, have photos of her students here. And then students could drag their picture over into the graph for the question of the day, whatever that could be. This one, we did kind of the same thing, but this was a pre-assessment. Where are you on the Google Slides continuum? You can see some of these teachers got kind of cheeky here with their addition of the emojis, but they were supposed to, again, I had these emojis down at the bottom and they just dragged them up and put them on this line as to whether they felt like they were a total newbie or whether they were a complete rock star. Again, quick, easy activity as far as part of a self-assessment. The other thing I had them do was I showed them this slide, which had these Post-it notes, which I had stacked a whole bunch of these Post-its on them, created the Post-it and then embedded it with a text box and grouped them together using the group feature within Google. And then I left aligned them over here so that they all were in a nice, neat stack. Then I asked people to drag them over, oops, got the wrong thing, drag them into the space, and then right on the Post-it note, something, answer to a big question. What was your light bulb moment? What did you learn? Or what are you still wondering? 3, 2, 1. 3 things you wonder. 2 things you want to know more about. 1 thing you're going to do tomorrow. You know, something like that. So this is what it looked like when we were done. And it was show what could you use Google Slides for? And so they wrote all those Post-it things on the Google Slides. These were activities that we did whole group. Then we moved into, and it was great because I allowed it to be kind of messy. I was fine with it being kind of a mess and, you know, people kind of working over top of each other. And I tried to bring up the fact that that is what collaboration is, whether we're doing it digitally or we're doing it in person. People are going to talk over one another. People are going to get in each other's way. People are going to use material that someone else wanted to use. We build a classroom culture that allows for that, forgives it when it happens, and moves on. And these kinds of activities are a great way to get kids used to it and comfortable with it. Then we moved into what we call the 3-2-1 group collaboration. And that was where I put them in table groups. I assigned them a slide number and I asked them to have a conversation and put their answers on this slide. So for this one, it was 1 thing you have in common, 1 thing you do not have in common, 2 things you do have in common, and then 3 tech tools we could not live with right now. Again, these were teachers. So in this one, while they all had a computer in front of them, they only needed 1, and they just needed 1 person to type in all these answers. When they were done, I encouraged them to go and look at the slides that the other groups were written in. For instance, this one was funny that they said that 1 of them was cool. And that one brought up a lot of cackling and laughing about which one was actually cool. So they had a really good GI issues. I just saw that one on this one, but they had a really good time visiting and talking and then entering their answers on this slide. And so you could see where this would be a great opportunity for kids to do similar things. So that's just one way or many ways that Google Slides might be of use and how it could be more than just a presentation tool. The other tool I want to talk about.
Nikki,
something?
Can I just tell you that what I love about that, I mean, I love a lot of things, but there was these kind of strictly digital collaboration with the Post-it notes and the emojis, but then there was also the putting them in groups so that they're talking and collaborating. Because I think sometimes we worry about kids only collaborating digitally, right? And we need them to have conversations and to talk as well. And so I love that this incorporated sort of all of those things. It brought in, didn't take out the tech, but also brought in collaboration over the tech. I think that's a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to.
Yes, we don't see digital collaboration as students sitting silently and only interacting on the computers.
Yeah.
It's just as boisterous and loud with and without technology. And I think that's how
it should be. Yeah,
it
should be.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the other tool I want to show is Jamboard. And I'm going to show you that from my Google Drive because when I showed it in a training recently, the first question was, how do I even find this? Where does this live? Jamboard is kind of new on the scene. So if you're in your Google Drive and you come up here to New and you come down to More, you're going to see it's right there. So it's a Google tool just like Slides and Docs, which means when you create one, it's saved in your drive, just like Slides and Docs, and it can be shared with your students in Google Classroom or by entering their email into the shared thing. Just like Slides, we can give it a title. There we go, test. So there's our test Jamboard. Jamboard has a lot of options. We can use a pen to annotate onto the Jamboard like this. We can use an eraser to get rid of our annotations like this. We can select tool to just point to things. We can insert sticky notes and type things. We can change the color of our sticky note. We can even have no color in our sticky note and save it. We can do continual sticky notes, repeat fire sticky notes, or we can just stop. once our sticky notes are on the board, we can make them big, we can make them small, we can rotate them around, put them to the side. We can move some of them to the back in case we want to layer sticky notes on top of one another. And we can all be doing this in the same space. When we're tired of working within this space, we can touch this little caret and go to the next frame and do something else on the blank space, but we can keep going back to this space. We can also insert images. We can do that from our camera, a Google image search, so we know it's safe photos, from our Google Drive, or even from our Google Photos. So I could type in dogs from Carrie's example, and I could put in the picture of the dog, and it would show up here on the Jamboard. And again, I can size it or resize it. I can put in text, a text box, and type things, and move that text around to label things. I can add shapes. I can add all of these shapes, a square, and just drag the square or whatever I want it to be. I can change the color of that square. I can fill it with color. I can make all kinds of things, but it's a little bit more simple than slides. And it's meant to be a collaborative workspace. So I was in a meeting yesterday or 2 days ago when we were all on Zoom, and we were encouraged to just write ideas on sticky notes. And those ideas were then arranged by topic. And then we were sent into virtual breakout groups based on the topics that were organized on the sticky notes. I've seen it in other classes where each kid had their own Jamboard with their name on it, and they were to navigate to the Jamboard with their name and start creating things within their space. The beautiful part about this is you'll see right there, it lives here in my drive. So if I want to use this Jamboard again, I can find it in my drive. I can also share it with people. I can share it with any of the people that I might work with, or I can add it to Google Classroom by just getting the link. Or when I'm opened up to my Google Classroom, I can just add the link that way. I can make a copy for each student so they all have their own Jamboard and they can do the work, or I can make sure that all students can edit the Jamboard and they can work from it. There is a lot of really great ideas out there for using Jamboard. Let me find my right slides here. I'll edit this part out.
Hey, while you're doing that, I'll just throw in one thing. I loved the share. In the Jamboard, you'll notice that it also said download as a PDF. And what I think is cool about that is, sometimes you want to show, maybe your class did a really great collaborative project and you want to hang it up in the hallway, or you want to print it off to show parents without, because maybe the parents don't have the digital access. So I think that doing that in a really easy way is just downloading it as a PDF and then being able to share that in whatever way you want, or even just hanging it up in your classroom so your kids can refer back to it or whatever. So I love that, the ability to do that, which is such a simple thing, but when you start thinking about the possibilities, I think it's great. So I just wanted to point that out as well.
Yeah, and again, saving it as an image too, that could be placed at other places. There it was. Nope. Here we go. So to get some ideas about how to use Jamboard in the classroom, Matt Miller of Ditch That Textbook has created 20 plus tips and ideas for using Jamboard in the classroom, and we'll put that link in with the description. But he takes you through all the tools and then gives you some great ideas for how you could use it, using shapes to highlight, adding text, sticky note brainstorming, digital posters, a pick one and vote, or a circle and guess activity. A lot of cool activities. And on this site, all of these are templates. So you could download this one that's pre-made, edit it to fit whatever you need, and share it with your students exactly as it is. So we hope that you found lots of cool ideas in this issue of the Tech Talk. Carrie, did you have anything else to add, or should we send them home?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Thanks for joining us for Tech Talk Tuesday. We'll see you next time.